So if you do have any questions or comments, feel free to hit that little chat button at the bottom, and you can. Looks like some of you guys are already, and then just make sure that it's set to your message should go to everyone. Otherwise, it just gets sent to one specific person. So it could be all panelists and attendees. That way, everyone sees your comments. Looks like everyone's saying hello in there. But on that fun note, and then after, we're going to do our graduation meeting via a separate Zoom link. That way, it's all interactive. But I'm going to mute myself and let Michael take over. But thanks so much for joining us, everyone. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to DM me.
Great. Okay.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda. All right. First, good morning, Oakwyn. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our panel today. We're really excited to present, some really great information, specifically to the first year in real estate. And, we have some amazing panelists with us today. I'm really excited they're very work hard, stay humble people, so they won't want to brag about themselves. So I'm going to brag on their behalf. So I'm going to introduce them to you guys, and we'll just start asking some really great questions, and we'll go from there. But really excited and really grateful for everyone that's in this Zoom call today, and really grateful for our panelists. So I'm going to start with Geoff Appleby. Geoff Appleby has been an Oakwynite since he started, I think in 2016. He was formerly an Oakwynite of the Year, just exemplifying the Oakwyn core values that we have as a company. And, I've seen him go through his career, and it's been pretty fantastic. He's also a Medallion member since 2017, so 3 years in Medallion Club as well, recognizing the top 10% of agents in Greater Vancouver. The next we have Jenny Wun, who's an amazing agent who leads a real estate team, and also has been a multi-year Medallion member. And is just a fantastic representative of what it means to be with Oakwyn. And we have, last but not least, the wonderful Kim Lee. Kim, you may recognize her from social media. She is amazing, and she was our Oakwyn Rookie of the Year last year, along with Mark Landrigan, and fantastic realtor who is still continuing her upward trajectory even through these strange times. So I just thought we would start with a question for the panel, and I'm going to kind of coordinate and kind of, so just tell us what your first year was like, and we'll start with Kim.
Okay, sure. So I joined real estate 2 years ago. First year was tough, but I knew that. Honestly, the first 4 months, I did 0 deals. And I wasn't discouraged because I put in the work every single day. And I truly believe that if you were consistent with, your work ethics, you'll see success in the end. So I joined Oakwyn right away, and I really liked Oakwyn because it was very collaborative. So I connected with the Oakwyn University agents. I asked them questions. We did our own mastermind. We asked each other questions. We helped each other out with our business. So honestly, I'm so grateful for that because I think that contributed to my success in the first year of real estate.
That's awesome.
It was a learning curve, and I still think it's a learning curve. That's why I love this business, because you're constantly learning.
That's great. Okay, Geoff, how was your first year?
My first year was, I was pretty lucky. I got a fair few deals done. I did join Oakwyn first and foremost. And actually, in my first year, I don't know if you remember this, Mike, but I told everyone that I was working directly with the owner of the company and that he was going to be overseeing everything I did. So anyone who was worried that I was new, I was like, no, don't worry. Like, I got this guy, Mike Yu, behind me. He's overseeing everything and helping me with all the documents and contracts. And I was on the phone with Mike a little bit that year, but there was another couple agents that I kind of helped out with their open houses a lot, and I got a lot of business from other people's opens, and just posted their listings and solds and kind of supported other people. And the other thing I did is I when I first started, this is maybe not a good example, but I decided not to take a day off until I made a sale. So I think I worked like 3.5 months, and my first sale was 2 days before Christmas. Sales center staff had to come in just for us to write a contract, and so I got to take Christmas off.
That's awesome. Okay,
no,
how about you, Jenny?
It was good. Yeah, it was a good first year. It was a lot of work.
Great. How about you, Jenny? What was your first year like?
Mine's a little bit of a different story because I actually started in project sales as a coordinator. So on the sales floor, working 20 hours, 25 hours a week for a developer between 12 to 5 p.m. So I'm going to fast forward because probably most of our viewers and listeners are in resale. So that my resale didn't really start until 2007, where I decided to leave corporate project sales and go out of my own. My first year I don't remember the number of deals I did, but by that time, with all the developers that I've worked with in-house, I probably have worked at, I'd say, about 12 different projects. And so my approach, and I positioned myself as a community expert. So I did door knocking, and I sent out mailers out to all the projects that I actually had hands-on experience with.
That's great. So, for those of you that are on the chat as well, if you guys are on the chat and you have a question, just fire it in the question box, in the chat box, and we'll try to get to it. But the next question we have, and we did get a lot of questions for these panelists emailed to us. So, what was what's the biggest secret to your, having a good first year in real estate? We'll start with Geoff. We'll mix up the order.
I do think it was sort of communicating what I was doing, and that, even if I was posting other people's listings, I was just sharing activity, and then I was just putting in a lot of time and calling old contacts. So, but you got to let your network know what you're doing and make sure that they know that they see you active, they see you out there, they see you at showings and with open houses and stuff like that. So get out there.
All right, how about you, Kim?
Honestly, just try everything. Like, there's no harm in trying everything and find what works for you. I mean, open houses might work for somebody, but it might not work for you. Try it, see if it works for you. If not, move on to the next one. Do door knocking like, Jenny did. Or do cold call. Find something that you're comfortable with and you're good at, and then stick with that and master it. And honestly, don't be afraid to ask questions. The first few months, I was really shy, and I'm kind of like an introvert where I was so scared to ask for help. But eventually I'm like, you know what? No shame, because I need to eat. I need to get paid. I got bills to pay, So I'm going to ask for help. And you develop this relationship with agents, with everybody, and then you just learn from them. Just find what works best for you and do it. And also tell people your goals, because they will hold you accountable. And you'll find ways to make those goals happen.
Okay, that's great. That's awesome, Kim. Okay, Jenny, what's the secret to a good first year in real estate?
Discipline. So getting up and developing habits and setting up your system in place, because your goal obviously is to get more deals, get more clients in the books. So if you actually don't have systems in place, that's the fundamentals of where you're going to be putting your database, the names and the contacts, and creating a systematic flow so that you have some sort of ebb and flow in your business. And that way you're not having to deal with the little minute details because that's all taken care of for you in the operations and the systems. So it functions on its own, but I would probably say having all the right systems in place, such as the CRM, such as a quarterly emails, monthly emails, just having something that you're going to be following that's scheduled.
That's great. I have a couple follow-up questions. So Kim, you mentioned that you tried everything as a new agent. Can you tell us a little bit about the things that you tried and what worked and what didn't work?
Yeah, for sure. So first I did open houses. So I hosted a lot of agents' open houses because I didn't have any listings. I find that worked for me because I really like the human interaction. So I kept doing that. My goal was to do 2 per week. So Saturday and Sunday I would do open houses, sometimes even back to back. And then I also try online leads. That's a long process. Buyers are looking to buy maybe 6 months out, so you have to be patient with that. I also tried door knocking. I did not like it, so I stopped. Okay. So props to you, Jenny. And I also did social media, like just having a presence, and you just have to attract your tribe. I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of people within, 26 to 35 years old, and I think they're on social media a lot. So that worked for me, and honestly, just reaching out to your network, your spheres of influence. Don't be afraid to ask for referrals because people are always looking to buy and sell. So yeah, that works for me.
That's amazing, Kim. Thanks for the detail there. Geoff, just to follow up on your kind of what was the most important thing to do in your first year? You mentioned letting your network know, letting your sphere of influence know. Can you share how you did that and what methods you used to do that?
Yeah, at the time I was using Facebook. I mean, I wasn't as active on Instagram. This was 2016, I guess. So yeah, it was like just posting stuff that you're out there every day. And after a couple months, like people forget that you're a new agent and they've seen you sort of every week or every day posting things. I mean, you don't want to overdo it, but after 3 months, 4 months, you kind of seem like a seasoned agent. The other thing I'd say too, and Jenny's probably the pro talking about systems and everything like that, but one thing that I had from my corporate sales background was the understanding of like pipeline management, leads, and use of the CRM. So you want to have a lot of you got to plant a lot of seeds or put a lot of get a lot of people on the go, because as Kim said, a lot of people are going to take. I mean, I have clients that are like 18 months looking now. Like, you do have to have a lot of people that are looking and a lot of irons in the fire for them to start closing. And then to have, like, you should be preparing now for deals that are happening in November or January. You got to keep that pipeline full.
That's great. Jenny, just to follow up on your kind of most important things, you mentioned discipline and systems. So like let's say we're somebody that is undisciplined and don't have any systems. Where do we start?
Okay, I would probably say reach out to all the top producers, kind of find out, because everybody's willing to share, especially in our brokerage, what type of systems they're actually using, and figure out if it actually fits into your budget. Get into, everybody's success looks very different. And so I've never actually compared myself to a Kim or Geoff. Like, I look up to them, and it's so wonderful to be alongside them and to be their colleagues in this business. But I know what's best for me, and I know what I'm going to be able to be excelling at. So I would say craft your skill, craft what you're going to be really good at, so that you actually enjoy your work, and eventually all the systems will come into place. I would probably say really have a good understanding of what kind of value you're delivering.
That's great. A lot of I hope you guys are frantically writing notes, because if I was in my first year of real estate, I'm like writing notes for my own business with these guys, because this is such a great opportunity to learn from top agents and professionals, and they're being so candid and transparent. So thank you guys. Just to have a little bit of a tangent, because I know everyone here personally, I've been so impressed with Kim Lee and Jenny Wun, and also Geoff to a lesser degree, but their social media presence. So how important is social media to your business? And tell us a little bit about your social media program. So we'll start with Kim first, and then Jenny, and I have a follow-up question for Geoff as well.
Okay. Honestly, just post consistently. Post about your personal life, post about your work, post about your successes, and just be candid. Honestly, I don't remember one post I posted about the struggle of a deal. People appreciate that, because our industry, our work is not easy. People may think it's easy, but it's not. But if you can show how you problem solve, people actually appreciate that. And also, as a new real estate agent, my biggest challenge was people always ask me, like, well, how many deals have you closed, or like, how long have you been in the business for? And I always struggle with that, because during that time I closed 0 deals, but I was so confident that I could get it done. So it's just the way that you articulate yourself and how you present yourself on social media and in person. That's where you can come along, So I think just post consistently, post about everything. Just be yourself, because people like you as a person. And if they see you on social media, they kind of already know you before meeting you, and they feel more comfortable and they trust you. So that's how I see it.
That's great, Kim. How about you, Jenny?
Our feed is all about family. So I actually don't want to if you actually visit our feed, we actually rarely talk about how to buy and sell, how to stage your home, because I feel that type of information is really crowded. So you can actually find that really anywhere. So we actually highlight the elements of how we interact as a team and how we interact with our customers. So we do see a lot of pictures. You're going to see a lot of our pictures with our clients in the photos. We're doing a lot of promos pieces in terms of scavenger hunts and giveaways. And even if there's a referral, we'll send them into our office. We have like a huge Visa card that we take a picture with them. And this shows like 80% of our business is through referrals. So we want to be able to showcase and highlight how important our clients are to us. As far as consistency, when I actually was a late bloomer. So I started social media in about 2014. I was really hesitant because I didn't really want to expose my personal life, but so I ended up hiring somebody for like $200 a month, posting 4 times a month, and I knew I was falling behind. So that's when we brought on a full-time marketing individual who does a great job for us to ensure that we're on top of our posts.
That's great, and I have that's awesome information. I got a follow-up question for Geoff. So you mentioned pipeline management, and kind of like that as being something that you brought from your previous career. Can you share a little bit more about that and kind of how that works, the method?
Yeah, pipeline, I guess, is a bit of a sales term. It's basically this isn't the shape of a pipeline, but what you need to be doing is a very crooked pipeline. You're starting with all these leads at the top, so you should have maybe not when you're early, like in the early days, maybe you have 10 or 12 people that you're dealing with, and you're shopping with 3 or 4, and you're closing 1 or 2 that are writing offers. But the idea is that you're moving people down into those stages, and like as they come in as prospects and you talk to them, you're trying to work with them, they're either staying in that maybe like warm lead basket, and then they're moving into like intermediate or active, and then they're writing offers, which means they're highly active, and then they're closing completion. So the more that you're putting in the top end of that pipeline, the more that you're going to be able to cycle down and have closing. So that's what that analogy talks about. It's super common. And then the way I do that, like when I first started in sales, I was using Excel, and now like I've used Salesforce and Copper, and like I don't even want to get into what the best CRM system is, because a lot of people say it's the one that you're using. But get a CRM system that's cheap, that connects with your Gmail, and that gives you a good visual, so that when you go in, like I always have my CRM open on one of my screens. So I have a couple screens here, and so I can just look at it and be like, who is super active that I need to get in touch with today, and it just reminds me so that people don't get sort of forgotten about. So it helps you manage everyone.
Mm-hmm. Great. So what was the biggest lesson learned in your first year? Like, maybe a misconception you had, and like what the biggest lesson you learned. We'll start with Jenny in your first year.
The biggest lesson I've learned is you're not going to be able to please everyone. I've always been a yes person, and wanting to work with everybody and anybody I got in contact with. But sometimes you just, you can't be everything to everybody, really. So what I decided to do was shift on working on my craft and my strengths, by going through many different types of sales programs, a lot of coaching, online, offline, even going back to school in the evenings, and honing on my skills in construction and new builds. So I was able to really understand the type of clients I wanted to work with, so I can actually enjoy my work.
That's great, Jenny. Okay, what was the biggest lesson for you, Kim, in your first year?
Aside
off the tail of your first year.
Yeah, honestly, biggest lesson, I think it's just, aside from like you can't please everybody. Honestly, you just have to find your tribe. There's so many business. There's so much business out there for everybody, and you can't get everybody. So you got to figure out who you attract and who you want to attract, and then kind of create that brand. So when people think about first-time home buyer, they think about you, or they think about pre-sale, they think about you, something like that. Like something just build your brand. I think the first year I struggled with that because I wanted all the business. I wanted detached, I wanted condo, I wanted like everything. I want to work with all sorts of people. But in the end, you kind of have to select who you want to work with.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And, that was a misconception I had as well, like just to feed off of what Kim has said. I thought there was only a small amount of business and it was like a scarcity. Then I had to like fight tooth and nail for that small amount of business. But as Kim enlightened us with, there's a lot of business for everybody. There's more than enough. And we can't win everything. And we can't do everything and be everything. And so I think that's such a valuable lesson in our first year where, there's a lot for everybody. And so you can, you should have that abundance mentality. That might be a bit cliche nowadays, but I think that's very true. So how about you, Geoff? Biggest lesson from your first year?
I think one of them is, and I'm still learning this because I'm not the fastest at replying all the time. There's some agents that I've worked with that are just like, they will get back to you, text message 10:30 at night. They'll get back to clients or other agents like always ASAP. And I've lost like multi deals from clients who've sent me messages and like I was away long weekend and I responded the next day and they're like, no, we got it sorted. We got an agent. And they were like needing to sell a house to buy 2 apartments and stuff like that. So replying quickly. The other thing I would say too is early on, I took anything and I could commit a lot of time to it. But as I got busier, I actually refer a lot of business out that I know is going to consume a lot of time. So like I had anyone looking for commercial, I referred out right away. I have no interest in doing it. If you have interest in doing it, that's great. Anyone looking, like I used to drive up to Squamish all the time. Now I'm like finding out who's working in Squamish and I'll work with them together or refer it out. People do deals in Nanaimo and in like Kamloops and that's great if that's what they're into, but I don't know those areas. I'd rather refer it out and just focus on, Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Vancouver, North Shore, that's it.
So, a big question on new agents' minds, I'm sure the big question on your mind when you first started was, like, how am I going to get business? Like, how am I going to find clients, right? So, what is, and maybe in your first year, but what is the most important, let's start with the first year, what was your most important form of lead generation in the source, and maybe kind of share a story around that. So we'll start with Geoff again.
It's a little bit of a different world now because open houses are tough, but I was doing opens and I was doing them consistently in an area that I knew and that I'd been getting traction in. So, just like even now, if I'm looking to take an open, I won't take one in Brentwood or something like that. I'll do it in areas that I know and I can speak to. And the other thing is I would learn the buildings and I would get to know all the details in the buildings. Because if you're doing an open and someone asks you a question, and you have no idea what the answer is, it doesn't make you look like an authority. So know your product and get prepared when you're going out and touring and that sort of thing.
That's awesome, Geoff. Okay, Kim, what was your most important source of lead generation in the first year?
To be honest, it was a lot of different things because first year I want to try everything. So I did open houses and just like Geoff, study the building. So I would host open houses for other agents. I would ask those agents to send me strata documents and I would remember just reading the documents the night before just so I can find key points to mention, like selling features of this building, this unit. I also did a lot of online leads. I learned to just constantly follow up. Even though if they don't reply, just keep following up until they tell you to screw off or until I also focused on social media as well. I think that was a big success for my business because through social media, I was able to generate some clients and then some referrals after that. So it just kind of snowballed from there. Honestly, just a bit of everything. But those 3 were my source of business, pretty much.
That's awesome, Kim. How about you, Jenny?
When I went into resale, I would probably say all the contacts I've made through the new developments Even down to, off the side is someone who was my landlord at one point. So I was renting before I was in the business, and I ended up just like reaching out to my previous landlords because I knew that I had good relationships with them. I even reached out to previous sales managers who, from my part-time jobs. I reached out to professors. I reached out to just anybody who I had contact with because they knew the integrity and the quality of work I've always, executed in all my my schooling and in my part-time jobs, and I knew that they would be my best advocates and my best ambassadors for me.
Great.
I might jump back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jump back in there for 1 second. I would kind of caution people a little bit about online leads. Like, I think that some of the advice that was just given there about like going back to your sphere of influence and communicating what you're doing and doing open houses, getting face to face is really good, and following up with those people. A lot of people think that they can build a website and the leads are going to come in and people are going to call them wanting to buy and sell. Like, it's really hard to do the online lead thing unless you have a big plan and a budget and really dedicate to it. But like your sphere of influence, the people that know you, lean on them and communicate with them, and use social media to communicate to people that already know you. I think that's the low-hanging fruit when you're starting.
Yeah, and
that's awesome.
Add to that too, because in our social media, we're not actually interested in collecting 10,000 followers. We have, I think we have like less than 2,000, and I would probably say a lot of, the majority of them are some of our real buyers and our real clients and real people that live in the city. So we're not here to service anyone that has a fake account or will like our picture and we don't even know who they are. We actually are genuinely connecting with and engaging with the audience.
That's true. And to add to that, I do agree. I mean, online leads, they're difficult to work with, especially when these buyers either A, they're not serious, B, they're working with other realtors, or they're just surfing on other realtors' website. So I think instead of spending so much money as a new agent, focus on sweat equity, like reaching out to your sphere of influence, ask if they have any referrals, and just focus on that more so than online leads, because it's a long process and you're spending quite a bit of money on it too.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, we're hearing a lot of people like reaching out and connecting and asking for referrals, and we've heard this a lot. I think a lot of people are scared to do a lot of that stuff because they feel like it's kind of putting yourself out there, and they can potentially feel humiliated or ashamed. How did you guys overcome that, and what strategies would you say that you implement that can help you to overcome either shyness or if you're not come from a sales background, to those introductions that you guys are so easy to make? So we'll start with Kim. We'll go with Kim again.
Okay. I think just don't be afraid. Honestly, the best time for me to ask is when either A, I close the deal, or subjects get removed, or if I solve the problem for them, because that's when they're happy. And that's when I ask for a referral. Like, hey, do you know anybody who's interested in buying or selling, or any plans for real estate? And then, they're happy with your service already. That's either when I ask for a referral or a review. So I find that works for me. And just follow up. Sometimes they say that, I have a friend who's looking to buy and sell. Get their contact information, ask for permission. If, you can get their phone number. Be the first one to call them. Don't wait for them to call you, because that might not happen.
That's a good piece of advice, Kim, for sure. How about you, Jenny?
I would say I've never had any issues asking for a referral, because I know that what I'm delivering is of value to them. So, but what I mean by that is, volunteering on strata council meetings so that I understand how strata councils work, being affiliated with the Urban Development Institute so that I'm in the know with what the new developments are in the area, being affiliated with Burnaby Board of Trade so I know just in the community what is happening, what businesses are starting up. So I'm surrounding myself with people that I'm comfortable talking to and that will support my business just like I will support theirs.
Awesome, Jenny. How about you, Geoff? How do you overcome that kind of hurdle of?
You do have to push yourself for sure, and you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. I think you got to remind yourself that like you just, a lot of people are really nervous about like posting or doing a video. Like a lot of people just hate doing video. You just got to do it. Everyone sucks at it. Everyone is self-conscious about like what they're going to sound like or what they look like or whatever. You just got to put it out there and don't try and be someone that you're not. Just be genuine, and people can smell like total BS or like if you're like over commentating or whatever. Just be genuine, and people appreciate that.
Great, thanks, Geoff. So there's a panel. There's in the chat we have a really great question. I'm going to modify it slightly. So maybe you can share your area of expertise, whether it's condos, townhouses, houses, transition, new home buyers, whatever it is, and then maybe share 1 or 2 helpful tips to focus in that sphere. So if Jenny, you don't mind, you can get started, and maybe you can talk about pre-sales and new builds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I specialize in new home sales, specifically West One Real Estate. I started that particular brand in 2000 and I'd say about 2012. Where I actually branded it as West One. Before that, I was Jenny Wun. And the reason why I wanted to brand it was because, following the model of like Rennie and Magnum, the owner was separating themselves as a corporation. So, I think I have about 45 developments under my books right now where I've started from land assembly to building the floor plans and arranging the floor plans to unit mix and down to like selecting materials for the homes, down to naming the building, down to branding it. So that's where I've been able to gain a lot of experience and referrals. Like I've never actually had to pitch who I was because that's where my background is. But because I took building construction technology program, because I built my own house, because I was really curious and hungry to learn from the development team, from the interior design team, I just decided to, take all that knowledge and learn from everybody else so that I can become a better person to deliver a wide range of services to my client, which are the developers. So now what I'm trying to do is place all the agents on my team. So there's 5 of us to work on those projects. And in turn, they're able to get clients from the visitors that visit our sales offices.
Excellent.
45 projects. Woo. Wow. Great.
That's very impressive. That's awesome. Geoff, how about you? So what's an area of specialty for you and like some helpful tips within that specialty?
Okay, I guess there's kind of 3 things that I sort of 2 things that I sort of specialize in. I do, and I've been a little light on this lately, but I was posting about economics, supply and demand economics. So I'm interested in that. I like reading about that. And it seems very dry to some people, but I would post a lot of on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I would do videos just talking about what's happening in the economy, what's happening with interest rates, what's happening with buyer trends, Canadian dollar, and how this impacts foreign buying and that kind of thing. And that resonated with a lot of people. Specific people really want that. They don't want like a lifestyle agent who's about clothes and stuff. So I kind of focused in on that a little bit. And then the other thing is I focused, like I live in Mount Pleasant. So that's the area that I farm as well. But I also, because a lot of my business comes from my sphere of influence, which is like, I went to school on the North Shore. Oh, Pete's back. Oh, man.
Hey.
Look, Grace with a little visit from Pete. I didn't want to cannibalize, like, I grew up on the North Shore, so I still want to do business on the North Shore, and I didn't want people to think I was just this, like, sort of Mount Pleasant realtor, so I'm a little careful with how I farm and what I communicate. But yeah, I do get a lot of my business from just consistency in certain areas.
That's amazing, Geoff. How about you, Kim?
I don't farm an area just because this is my second year in business, so I'm open to all the cities. But this year I'm focusing a lot in the Fraser Valley area, so like Surrey, Abbotsford, Chilliwack. But I also don't want people to think I'm just a Fraser Valley realtor, because I'm with the Greater Vancouver Board and I do a lot of business in Tri-City as well as Vancouver. So I just put myself out there, and honestly, I just do market update videos to inform and educate, my clients and to home buyers or sellers. I do them consistently. I do them every month. I post it on my social media. I also do monthly campaigns, like email blast every month. So I add my videos and all the content and just provide value to my clients.
That's great. If you have not seen Kim's monthly videos, they're so impressive, and they're beautifully and well done. And she presents so well, as you can tell on the Zoom call. She's very well spoken.
I honestly post it and I never watch it again. It's like you're our own worst critic.
Oh man, it's not gonna. Don't make it perfect. You could spend all day. Mike knows all about that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be yourself, be genuine. I mean, we're not perfect. I post my bloopers and I find it hilarious because I make fun of myself.
That's good.
I remember Mike when I was doing mail out letters, and I think I had a spelling mistake or something like that. And Mike was like, "Who gives a shit? Like, you're gonna spend all day doing it. Just send it out, push it out, go, go, go." Like, because you can spend so much time perfecting things, but you gotta just accept not everything's gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be good.
Yeah, and that's really, that's a really good point. When we talk about specializations as well, there's specializations in real estate, but then there's also specializations in the type of people you work with. So think about the demographic that you're going to be serving, because it is, we're in the real estate business, but really we're in the people business, and that's something that really is key to remember. Once you get, you get a handle of who you want to serve, just as Kim, Jenny, and Geoff have said, which is really key. So moving on, so maybe we can talk about goal setting in our first year. So did you guys set a goal? What was the goal? Did you achieve the goal? And everything goal setting. So we'll start with Jenny, please.
Mm-hmm. I actually, let me just think here. I think I was about 30 was my goal. I exceeded that just because I actually ended up, so my story is a bit different again, because when I left corporate sales, a lot of developers were trying to recruit me into their office. And I was like, nope, I don't want to be in that setting anymore. I needed to be more creative and add to my wings were really clipped at that time with just the bureaucracy and the politics that come along with corporate sales. So I ended up getting a lot of projects. So I would say my first year, I ended up getting 2 projects, multi-family townhomes. And then from there, I ended up getting some leads from the open houses that I held. So for sure, I did over 30 because my projects were larger than that. And sorry, was there another question?
Just everything around goal setting in your first year. Maybe even a goal setting tip. If you do you still do goal setting?
I do, actually. I do that every year with my team. So I sit down with them individually because everybody's plan looks very different. Their family dynamics and their personal goals are different. I sit down with them, and I actually follow the economic system with the Gary Keller, from the Gary Keller book. So if anybody doesn't have this book, it's your Bible for this business, and I refer to it every year. And I would say, there's a chart. It's a very easy chart to follow, where you write down how much you want to make, and you work backwards. What's the average number of what's the average commission per deal? How many calls you need to make? How many appointments do you have to set for yourself? So it actually is very structured. So I would probably say pull out the book and follow and just fill in the template.
Awesome. Sorry, I think I lost the connection for a second, but that's okay. I think I'm back. Okay, so how about Kim? Goal setting for your first year. Did you achieve your goal and all things around goal setting?
Okay, so goal setting for first year, I was a little ambitious, too ambitious. My goal was to do 24 in my first year. I'm like, you know what, shoot for the start, whatever. I did not reach my goal, but I was pretty proud of myself. I did 18 deals in my first year, and I landed in top 5%. So making medallion was also my goal as well. So in order for me to obtain that, I had to visualize my goals, did quarterly goal setting. The first quarter, I didn't really do goal planning because I didn't know what to do. And then that's when I sat down with you, Michael. And then we planned everything, how I was going to achieve that. We worked backwards. It was very number specific, like how many calls I need to make, how many contacts I need to make a day, how many I need to sell in order to achieve my goals. So I think just visualizing it, putting it on a whiteboard, putting it somewhere, because I think that really helped me achieve my goals.
Yeah. How do you visualize them? Like Kim, you mentioned.
I'm very number oriented, so I write numbers down. And then I would always just, I don't know how to explain it because it's all on my whiteboard. I track my goals, track my transactions, my dollar volume, and I think if I see it, I'll find a way to achieve it. But if I don't have it on my board, I don't know. I'm just like a visual person, so it helped me. You just gotta find what works for you.
That's really great advice, Geoff.
I defer my time to Jenny and Kim. I think I'm not the best goal setter, to be honest, to a fault. Like, I know that I think both those ladies are much more thorough at doing that and watching it than I am. I'm like almost to a fault, a bit of a like I'll just put my head down and push and overwork to get a lot of business. Set good goals for yourself, but remember that you might not do 24 or 30 deals in your first year. I didn't. I was very happy to do, I think, 12. But even then, like the first 6 months is tough, especially if you're younger and out of school. You don't have, like I was lucky to have a corporate background of disciplined sales. Like I'm in here 9 to 5. Like Mike knows that. I'm always in the office, and I don't sleep in until noon. I don't I take it very seriously, and so that's kind of how I reach my success. But or the number of deals that I'm doing. But yeah. I think just realize that like the first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months is hard. The nervous feeling will go away, and set goals for yourself and set metrics. I think maybe a better goal than close deals at the end of the year is to try and do 10 calls a day or to post real estate stories 3 days a week or something like that. Set those goals that are also going to be a little bit different and help you get to where you want to be. It's not just about how much you're going to close, but all the work that you got to do to get there.
Amazing.
Just to add on to that, I think it's more important to develop a routine and stick to it, because a lot of people get discouraged when they don't see results. So put in the work every day, wake up at the same time every single day, make 10, 15 calls a day at a certain hour, keep doing that. And then eventually you'll hit your goals.
Wow, this is very prolific stuff, guys. I hope you're taking notes and listening. So, on that note, what do you think is the most important personality trait that you may have had, or that that's really been effective for your business or for being a real estate agent in general? So we'll start with Jenny.
Motivation. You have to be self-driven because it can be very lonely. And even with me, I work with a team of, we're a total of 6 people. I'm every day motivating my team, and I have to motivate myself. So what gets my juice driving them so that they're consistently happy and in their place. For me, I want to see them be successful. So that's what gets me up every day, is that I'm a big fan of them, because individually they're very different, but we work well together. And so being able to see them successful in their personal life and it drives me to ensure that I don't want them to go through all the headaches and go through all the little details that I had to go through, because I want them to be focused on just helping their clients. And just making sure that everybody has a good quality of life.
That's awesome, Jenny. Okay, let's go to Geoff next.
I think it's trust. I don't have a team of 6 agents. You do kind of need to motivate that sort of thing. I do need to motivate myself, but trust is people know when you're just pushing to get a sale or whatever. People love hearing you know what, if you guys like this building, I'm behind you, but I think it's a piece of garbage. I don't think you should buy it. If you tell them stuff that's genuinely in their interest, and I actually, again, go back to Mike, I think in my first year you said something along the lines of what was it? Just do the absolute best thing for your clients and don't worry about anything else, and the money will start to flow and sales will start to close. But if they really trusted you and liked you, and you gave them good advice, they'll refer their friends.
That's amazing. How about you, Kim?
I do agree with Geoff. Just being honest. Honestly, if you be honest, you share your opinions and thoughts, that's where the trust will come. And that's when, you develop rapport with people. And honestly, just put people first. Don't worry about the dollar signs, put people first, and eventually everything will come together.
That's great. So, time has really flown by, and, I feel so lucky and fortunate to be working with you guys. But we're going to ask one final question, okay, to each of you, and you can be really thorough with this if you don't mind. So, if you were to replay your first year in real estate with what you know now, what would you do differently, and how would you have conducted yourself? So we'll start with Jenny, please.
What I would do differently.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have systems in place. So in 2007 or 8, I burnt myself out. I would have hired an assistant a lot earlier. So I would say if you're at about 30 to 35 deals in a year, it's about time you're going to outsource all the little tasks that can be handled through checklists. So that way you're doing more business development and you're reaching out to clients, and you're not working on the little details of your business because it can be handled by somebody else. And if you don't, and you can share this cost with maybe another agent. But I would have hired somebody a lot earlier in the business, and I did too much on my own. I was afraid to ask for help because I thought I could do everything, but for sure I have a lot of weaknesses, and the team right now pulls all that forward for me. Because I know the way I like to, the clients that I like to work with is also the type of, the way I like to buy things. So I like to make decisions really quickly. There's really no emotional attachments to things. So that's the type of client I want to work with. I know that it's not, every buyer is different. So every person on my team has certain qualities that I know will work best for those type of leads. So I'm just going to be outsourcing all the things that I'm not really good at.
Mm-hmm. That's great, Jenny. Okay, we'll go to Geoff next.
Yeah, maybe it would be along the same lines of just getting organized and having structure and focusing on strengths. Because I've found actually more recently that I'm here a lot, and I was like even last year and a bit earlier this year doing stuff that I'm really bad at. That was like taking up all my energy, when I was like, I should just be on the phone, and I should just be working directly with clients, and sort of being a bit more organized with focusing on my strengths and handing off some of the things I'm not good at. I think there's a sort of opposing thought of there are certain ways to do real estate that are going to be successful. Just follow the successful people, listen to what Mike says. It's true, but do it. But it's true. Like, I've referred back to you a couple times, more than I thought I would actually during this call. But then you got to adapt your way of doing it. So, like, Mike is a master door knocker, and most people that won't, like, it's really tough. If you can force yourself to do it and have success, that's great. But look at, like, if you have a panel of 4 people, or you listen to 5 other realtors, they're going to give you 12 different ideas. Circle the 4 that, like, you think that you can shine at, and really just double down on those.
That's amazing, Geoff. Thank you. Kim.
I was very unorganized. I did not save all my files, and I didn't have any system in place. I didn't know what a CRM was. Just like figuring out Google Drive, Dropbox, find what works for you, and play with the CRM, see if it works for you. And honestly, the one thing I wish I did more was to go to the office more, surround myself with agents and listen to how they talk on the phone, or like share ideas. I was kind of like an invisible agent, where I didn't want to be like known as the new agent, so I didn't want to go to the office. I wish I went to the office more just because I could ask more questions. Maybe I could, ask for what systems they use that worked for them, and just like what Geoff said, circle some ideas and just double down on those.
That's great, Kim. Okay, that time just flew by. We have a couple more minutes, in with the panel. So maybe if you guys don't mind, maybe share some a golden nugget, or like a favorite quote, or something that you kind of drives you, that keeps you going. Maybe a mantra, or some great tip that might be like, if you were to identify like a secret of your success, like what would that potentially be? We'll start with Kim again.
Don't really have a quote. I know you're really all about that, Michael.
Really?
I honestly believe in being authentic. Be yourself, and you'll attract the people that want to be with you. I was a people pleaser. I wanted to just change my personality so I could get along with everybody, but that's not true. There's so many personalities out there. Like, the longer you're in the business, you're gonna notice you'll be dealing with different types of personalities. You can't cater to everybody. So just be authentic, be yourself. I guess that's my mantra.
That's amazing. Okay, Geoff?
Kim said something about not wanting to be like the new agent at the office. I think that's kind of in your head. If anyone out there is feeling that same way, that's just kind of like a mindset thing. And so that wears off quickly. Just get your feet wet, get in there, and then you won't be new anymore. You'll be a seasoned agent, or you'll be an agent with a bunch of deals, down. But you also need to think about your mindset a lot, because if you're working from home and sales are kind of dry and it's winter and it's like depressing out there, like, be conscious of your mindset and your way of thinking and the things that you're telling yourself. I follow a lot of people on Instagram that are just like Tony Robbins. Like, I know, if you're feeling like really frustrated and down, like, go back to the basics and think about what you got to do, and just keep your mind positive, because sales is a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So you just got to find a way to push yourself through it and get back to the highs.
Fantastic. Okay, Jenny, last but not least.
I'm going to use the Wayne Gretzky quote: "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." I've always been a person who just goes for it, and I don't really look at what kind of challenges I'll be facing. I just have to maneuver around it, and I have developed a lot of mental toughness through this by not taking things personally, not having an ego, and just take it as a learning experience. So just starting up projects and working on projects and working with new developers, asking for the business. And I would probably say, even just starting this podcast, starting my coaching program, it's a whole different avenue that I'm approaching. So I would just say, just go for it and learn as you go.
Okay, fantastic. So Kim, Jenny, Geoff, on behalf of all the attendees and everyone here at Oakwyn, we just want to thank you so much for being part of the panel. You guys have such big hearts, and you have a heart to serve others, and you're also such kind and amazing people. And I'm so proud of the three of you guys, and all that you've accomplished and all that you will accomplish. And you don't know how much you've contributed to us in our lives and all the people, because you're gonna hear 2 years from now. I sat on a panel with Geoff, and he told me something that really impacted. Same thing with you, Kim. Kim gave me a bit of this, and Jenny, this quote, I'm listening to her like this thing, and you don't know how much you've contributed to all of us. So I just want to thank you on behalf of all the attendees today for being a part of Oakwyn and being a part of our community and being really great leaders for us. So we're going to follow you, and we're just so proud of you. And on all the attendees, everyone here that is listening, we're just so grateful and thankful to have you at Oakwyn and be a part of our company. We're so we're just so thankful to see everyone and all the names and everyone that's listening. And I hope you took a lot from that, because this is not. They were so candid and transparent about ups, downs, challenges, everything in their first year, and that's unusual to get that kind of transparency and openness from people. So we're just so thankful for that. And that wraps up actually. So this was a panel, but it's also the last class of Oakwyn University, the panel class. So, we just want to say, for all of you new graduates of Oakwyn, we're doing a virtual happy hour afterwards. Like, if you want the link to that, just message Ace or message in the chat, and I'll be there. The panelists are probably busy. I see them peeking at their phones and stuff like that. So, on behalf of everyone, I just want to say thank you guys so much. So, we just say goodbye to everyone, and thanks, guys.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, great. Talk to you guys soon. All right.